Rueben Bain Jr. has just been dominating to start 2025. He's been one of the best players in the country. Not only one of the best defensive linemen, but one of the best players in the country throughout Miami's first 5 games. So we're going to take a look at some top clips from Rueben Bain. We're going to start with the Notre Dame game where he was a great pass rusher. That's why ESPN's talking about him going first overall. That's why he's on all these award lists. That's why he's on Heisman watch lists. But to me, it was really the run defending. Of course, he did a great job getting after the quarterback. But what really made this Miami defense dominate, why Rueben Bain Jr. just completely dominated, was because of what he did against the run. Obviously Notre Dame with 2 of the best running backs in the country, they're going to want to run. They just couldn't. They tried to get to the edge with Jeremiah Love, and they just couldn't because Rueben Bain was there. This is a great job setting the edge. He did this throughout the game where Jeremiah Love just had to cut this just a bit earlier than he wanted to, and all of a sudden he's in with a whole lot of orange shirts. If Jeremiah Love was able to get to the edge here, this might have been 6 the other way. That just how fast of a football player Jeremiah Love is. We saw that throughout the game. And then him as a pass rusher, I got to tell you, I can't believe Miami only had 3 sacks this game the way that they got after CJ Carr. I actually think CJ Carr did a pretty good job avoiding the pass rush throughout this game, but just look at the explosiveness and the bend. That first step that Rueben Bain Jr. has, that's why he's getting talked about going first overall. Look at this by CJ Carr, though. Just a real nice step back. Ends up being an incomplete pass, but great pass rush by Rueben Bain. And, again, now Rueben Bain Jr. is a really strong run defender, right? When he's doesn't have 5 yards to come off the ball, he's really strong. Now, when you give him 5 yards like he has right now to pick up a head full of steam, that speed to power generation, he might be one of the most powerful football players in the country. Just a crazy pass rush on that last one. And then this play right here, to me, is one of the best plays I think I've seen all season. We're going to see him dominate against zone, in a little bit against outside zone here. Now, this is looks like they're trying to pull this left guard. They are trying to pull this left guard, and they're down blocking on Rueben Bain. But Rueben Bain just blows up this tight end, and all of a sudden this guard can't get to number 31. 31 makes this play in the backfield. Look at how he just completely wrecks this scheme here. Dude, the left guard didn't have a chance because Rueben Bain just blew up 2 guys at once, blew up that down block, and then all of a sudden that pulling guard couldn't get there. So now this is against zone, right? Again, they're trying to get this edge, and then if it's not there, Jeremiah Love's cutting this back. Now, you can't tell right here, but there's only 5 orange shirts in the box right now. If Rueben Bain doesn't make this play, I think Jeremiah Love cuts this back and scores like a 60-yard touchdown or however far they are. But look at how Rueben Bain just first sets the edge. All of a sudden, they can't go outside. Jeremiah Love has to cut this back, and then Rueben Bain was just there to make the play. And then, when Notre Dame couldn't run towards the end of the game, they just had to. Rueben Bain just played a great game, getting after the quarterback here. That's really why you're hearing him getting talked about first overall, is that explosiveness, the speed to power, the bend, and the motor that Rueben Bain plays with. And as a run defender, that's where I get really excited, talking about him being full package. We're going to see 1 sack against Bethune-Cookman here. Again, just the speed to power, the bend, really. But I got to tell you, man, this last game against Florida State on Saturday, you could tell the beginning of the week, Gus Malzahn, Coach Mike Norvell were in the office. We cannot let number 4 beat us. Just the way that they called plays, you could tell they were trying to avoid Rueben Bain from having a big game. He still had a very effective performance, but you could tell just the way that Florida State game plan was around Rueben Bain. And, that's why I think Miami's defense played 3 quarters of dominant defense. So this play right here, if you watched any Florida State, they're going to try to get Mekhi Danzy on the edge, right? Number 19 for Florida State's one of the fastest players in the country. I'm not even just saying that, the track numbers, he set an all-time ACC record in the 200 meters. So Mekhi Danzy's like fast. Look at the way that Rueben Bain just gets there. If he's not there, again, this is a very fast player in Mekhi Danzy. He's got a whole lot of space here to do something with, and he's done a good job of that throughout the season. Now, Rueben Bain actually gets flagged with a horse collar here, but this is still a great play to change direction and not let him get outside of you on this one. Here's really nice inside move. I got to tell you, number 55 Gunnar Hansen did a really good job not letting Rueben Bain just absolutely dominate, but Bain still had a really good game against Florida State last Saturday. Could have been a lot worse than the way it went, I'll tell you that much. Now this one is him on the back side of this inside zone, or I guess it's the front side of where they're trying to run, but he just forces this issue in the backfield here. Now, Gavin Sawchuk's had a really good season when he's able to, slow down and read what's going on these zone runs. Rueben Bain, he feels them right now, and he knows he has to cut this just a bit earlier. You take a look at number 55 and 67 trying to work up to the linebacker here. If Gavin Sawchuk was able to wait just a half second, just a quarter second longer, maybe they get up to that linebacker, but Rueben Bain forces the issue. All of a sudden, it's a 2-yard run instead of what could have been a really long run. Gavin Sawchuk's having a really good season for Florida State here, but again, Rueben Bain just forces this issue in the backfield, and all of a sudden we're talking about a loss of yards or, a 2-yard gain instead of a good run here. And then this is one of the last plays of the game. Just the flexibility that Rueben Bain has. He's got a lot of pass rush moves already. The flexibility, the bend, and the explosiveness, I think he's a pretty special player that Miami has a number 4, and I'm excited to keep watching him. Anyways, that was Rueben Bain Jr. If you guys want to leave your thoughts on him, please check out we-draft.com as a place to kind of leave your evaluations and look at what other people think about him. Thanks for watching.